Hello, everybody. It is great to be here. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm the host of the Founders Report. And it's with great honor that I have an incredible guest, Xen Sams, Polyxenia Sams, right? Is that the Greek
That's
pronunciation?
exactly right.
Zaniki, I think, is my papa would say that name. Anyhow, my name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 17 companies, been involved in 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company. Love artificial intelligence because we have a lot of data around us, and love quantum computing. So Zen is here. Zen has done incredible things. She's an actress. She speaks 5 languages. She's Greek and love that because I'm part Greek. Um, she's an entrepreneur, a mother, uh, everything. I mean, Zen, it's like you cover all, and you're from Montreal. So, how did you ever get started? What happened in Montreal when you were sitting in church? And I remember after church, there'd be 15 or 20 people sitting around. All your family would be there and they'd be talking about politics, etc. How did you go from Montreal to New York to Florida? I mean, what was this transition like?
Well, it was quite the ride, and it still is, Gary. It still is. Let me tell you, I was scouted on Miami Beach by Elite Miami at the time, and I was in Miami Beach visiting my father, who at the time owned, of course, a Greek diner in Fort Lauderdale. A Greek without a diner, that would be like Eskimos without snow. So I would be there every summer, and I would help him with the business. I would come up with fun menu items and healthy menu tips that that would appeal a lot to the average senior citizen, if you will. But we wanted to increase, our demographic to some of the younger crowds. So of course, my dad had me working there as a waitress in the summers and helping out. Now, I get scouted on the beach while I'm partying with friends in South Beach at the time, signed to Elite New York. By the time I'm 17, come here to New York, and between 17 and 22, basically travel to a different country in a different city every week. I was signed under Monique Pillard. I shot campaigns for Guess Jeans, Fructis Garnier, Parasuco, Lise Wattier, Mercedes-Benz, Heineken. The list goes on and on. And it was like I was a brand ambassador of sorts, but I was also physically modeling. And then, of course, I transitioned from the modeling industry to the acting industry. Attended Stella Adler and Lee Strasberg conservatories. Did that whole acting route. Went to and did also got a BFA in theater from NYU, but that was not what propelled me to really want to embrace film and TV. It was being able to be in an industry in where you could be comfortable in your own skin, but now you have this ability to also escape who you are. And escapism at that time in my life was priceless. And the reason escapism was priceless is because I was undergoing radioactive iodine treatment for a hyperactive thyroid gland of sorts. And that made me want to retreat from the modeling industry. Of course, when you do radiation, you undergo physical, your skin is dry. I had lost my eyelashes, my eyebrows. It wasn't a moment in time where I felt like modeling. And so I was very quickly interested in the acting industry, of course, because I was so emotionally available. And when you study at Stella Adler and Lee Strasberg, with the likes of Lola Cohen and all these great teachers here in New York City, you come out not just loving the art, but embracing it and appreciating it in so much in a different way than I had appreciation for the arts as a model, so to speak. And one thing led to another, and I ended up eventually making the transition from feature film actress to doing a lot of media and radio pre-pandemic. 2019, I ended up contributing on the Newsmax platform. And I ended up doing a segment called Women Wednesday. Every Wednesday and every Friday, Freaky Friday, I would appear on a show called Liquid Lunch with John Tobacco. And John Tobacco was the host of the show at the time. And we were live over 80 million viewers and 70 million mobile devices. I mean, Newsmax at the time was a fast growing platform, and they still are. And taking that and really taking the transition of applying everything I knew as a model, as a brand ambassador, appealing to clients visually, articulately, being able to incorporate my training and then turn it into almost a digital platform art, so to speak, because now we were faced with everything was online. And even pre-pandemic, the industry was shifting where every audition tape was online. Everyone you would meet, casting director, every callback was online. So when I'm in movies like The Banker with Samuel L. Jackson that you can currently access on Apple TV Plus, or Mel Gibson, I have a movie coming out with him called Last Looks. In about 3 to 4 months, it's going to be released. Currently, I'm in another movie with Terrence Howard called Gully. So being in these movies.
Wait a second, you got these movies. Xen, you got to slow down because I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
So tell me, now here you are, you're an elite model. And then, by the way, my mom, I don't know if it's something about
Polyxenia. Polyxenia.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying Peloponnese because my mom had the same.
Oh, from the Peloponnese, right? Yes.
She had radioactive treatments, the same deal, and it's kind of interesting because other members of my family have had the same thing. So it's interesting. But how going through that? So here you are, a model, and now you go down through and you've got you lose your eyelashes and it changes you. How does that? I mean, it's got to like affect you in some way, shape, or form because you know here you are, scattered on the beach, and now the situation you're not sure where you're going to go. How did that feel?
Oh, it was so scary, Gary. It was a moment in time where I thought to myself, I committed to being an actor and a model, or really a model at that point. So everything was about what I looked like, and it was such a rude awakening to realize that. Beauty's only skin deep, and we're nothing unless we have, a strong core, and unless we're comfortable within ourselves, and the intellectual knowledge that we process on a daily level is so much more profound and unique than what we look like. And it actually taught me to exist without using beauty, which was so priceless because I was coming from a world that everybody, used their looks to make money. And so when you go through this transition internally, you wake up and you tell yourself, okay, listen, like it's not just about modeling and making quick, easy money, because that's what it was. I was making very good money very quickly, very effectively, being on a different yacht in Saint-Tropez, also living out the negative and the perils of that life, because by the way, Harvey Weinstein sponsored my visa originally, and he sponsored it. And believe me, as a victim of that movement, that's a separate podcast, Gary, but it wasn't all bells and whistles. It wasn't all that glitters is gold. And so leaving that industry for me was very rewarding in a sense, because now I was able to wrap my head and my talent around something that was much more tangible than just the modeling industry. And so I did that, and I really embraced the acting world. And so I used my acting and really didn't depend on my looks, but rather on my skills to get me through some of the darkest times, because I was so emotionally available. And then when I came to kind of feeling empowered again based on accomplishing things in a much different way, I ended up, having this incredible opportunity on the radio news front, where people were asking me to come on as a contributor to talk about mental health disorder, women's rights, the Me Too movement. And so I started bringing content to platforms like WABC or Biz TV or Oregon Money Talk Radio, many platforms, that's just to name a few, Newsmax, especially one of them. And I ended up, getting offered throughout the pandemic, because I was such a major contributor to these platforms when I wasn't working as an actor, because of course the world came to a standstill, at a point in time in 2020. And so I ended up being a contributor of sorts, and eventually launched my own show on iHeart Radio, which was very fitting given the time, a moment of Zen, everything film, fashion, pop culture, entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. But my experiences were very unique to my, career, so to speak. And then there's more. There's more to the story that unfolds, but I don't want to hijack the show. So now you can. I'll throw it back to you, Gary.
Then it's really interesting. So and I've been through some similar circumstances, but when you went through that, so I mean those dark times, did you look at people differently?
Totally. Totally differently.
What was the
Totally.
one thing when you were, so you come through this? What was the one thing when you were looking at folks that change, having gone through that deep changing, soul changing experience? What was the one thing?
The one thing that real I started valuing, first of all, I started giving everybody the benefit of the doubt, right? So, you'll meet people in this world, and a lot of people react to others based on thinking that everyone's out to take them for a ride, or there's something, behind this person, or there's an ulterior motive, or, we have a lot of those in society, right? I'm not one of those people anymore. But having gone through what I went through allowed me to now be able to literally view everybody as give them the benefit of the doubt, see the glass half full, treat them as somebody that, regardless of the judgments that others have cast on this person, I now allow that person for my relationship to develop, so I could judge what I feel about that person, not what others have told me or framed about that person. And I think that being able to go through something traumatic emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, such as cancer, or up to the point of where it was literally the same way you treat a hyperthyroid goiter with that radiation. It was kind of traumatic because you're ingesting something, and as you're ingesting this isotope, you're thinking to yourself, it's literally taking everything in its way, like a tsunami, so to speak. And it's
Mm-hmm.
there go my salivary glands, there goes my retinal tissue, there go my ability to reproduce. So they told me, you'll never be able to get pregnant, you've ingested way too much reproductively, no. And lo and behold, 10 years later, I got pregnant on the birth control pill, unplanned. So I learned to really kind of see everything in the most positive way. Start to, what can I bring to the table when I meet somebody? How can I contribute to somebody's positivity and to somebody's happiness? Is this relationship that I'm now cultivating something that fits into my daily life, my time schedule? Can I be realistic about it? I never want to disappoint the people around me. It comes by being an empath. I will give the shirt off my back to friends and family, and even to the stranger I meet if they need my help. It's just who I am. When I gave birth to Alexa, my moral compass went from 0 to 60 overnight. It was kind of like something sparked in me. I have a little human body now, literally mimicking my every move, a shadow of sorts. And you can't afford to slip anymore when you have a child that you're raising, and when you've been so lucky that the universe has blessed you with a child. When you look at so many people in this world who want children and can't have them, or so many children that are not being taken care of properly by their parents, or so on and so forth. But as a mother to not only just a 5.5-year-old, but a stepmother to a 19-year-old daughter. My stepdaughter is going to be 19 August 28th. She goes to University of Georgia. I've raised her since she was wee tall. My stepson is 16. I've raised him since he was, in diapers. So, I've seen children grow up. I've seen the ability to give love and get love, and nurture over nature, so to speak. But yeah, having gone through something like that as traumatic definitely puts things into perspective. But I'm going to give you something even more, Gary. So in 2012, right after all of this happens, I trip and fall over a Con Edison wire cover, okay? And I break my face, literally fracture my face. And now I'm out of commission for 1 full year. I currently have a metal plate under my orbital and 4 screws down my nasal passage.
Oh my God.
Yep.
That's incredible. Wow.
And I sued Con Edison and won proudly, because it was a faulty, unidentified, like when you're walking down the street and you see like a wire cover and it's
Right.
black and rubber, and you're kind of like, you kind of step over it. But imagine that rubber cover in torrential downpours in the middle of, the right before winter, like in late November, where New York City blocks are very narrow and thin. And I walk out of this, townhouse restaurant, so to speak, and I kind of literally didn't see it. And I tripped so badly that I hung onto the tree, but hit the tree, and basically knocked me out. And I proceeded to bounce off the tree and hit the metal decoration around the tree, and then basically pass out. And I was transported to Weill Cornell, and I had to undergo, facial surgery. Although there wasn't any cosmetic surgery involved, they lifted my lip and cut 90 stitches like internally and patched me
Wow,
up.
that is unbelievable.
And then
I
I
mean,
resorted to cannabis therapy to fix the facial twitches as a result of the facial pulls that I had from this accident. So that took me, 2012, again, as my acting career just bouncing back. I'm like, whoo, hurrah, I got through one thing, and then boom, like life throws you another curveball. So what do you do? So here we go. I'm like, God gives you lemons, you make lemonade. I picked it up and
exactly.
started.
Well, how much do you think, so the Greeks that I know are very, very resilient. The ones that I know are unbelievable. They can walk through brick walls. And I don't know if it's because of the history of Greece or because of the personality, tenacity, but you exemplify that. I've seen it many times, and I've been through it a few times myself. So that's just incredible. I mean, here you are, you bounce back.
Bounce
So
back. We're warriors, that's what they used to say about the Spartans. They were warriors. They didn't stop for nothing and no one, so to speak. It was kind of like, let's keep going. And my heritage, my background, I'm proud on all fronts, whether we're talking about my Jewish side or my Greek side, or being born in Canada, or speaking French, English, Greek, Italian. These languages, I embrace them because they are part of the culture that I live. And so it's almost like if I'm embracing the Greek or Italian or even the French culture, not speaking the language is kind of depriving yourself of the full experience. And I always said to myself, like, I'm not going to stand behind anything that I'm not fully integrated in. So that's where speaking all those languages comes from.
okay, so where are you going to go now? So the acting, you're in Protocol. You did that short film. You've moved into. You've just told us about a couple other films you're involved in. Where are you going to go with acting? How far are you going to go with it? What's the end goal? The Oscars? I mean, Academy Award? I mean, what's the deal? All of the above?
You can never say never. So I don't ever limit the ceiling to which I live under, right? So for me, as an actor, it's the love of my life. It's what I've been trained to do. Of course, the pandemic took me out of it and propelled me into now having my own show on an incredible, amazing platform like iHeart and 710WR, The Voice of New York. And that consumes a lot of my time because it's a 1 hour, very structured show. As you know, you're a contributor on that show. And it's a different pace. We cut to the radio commercials. We cut to live radio. I have to be mindful of the engineers in one ear. This is a much more laid back kind of environment. But I think that the most important thing to keep in mind is the next, for me, whether it's in acting or in radio or in TV broadcast it's always, I'm going to go for the top. So if I'm going to continue acting, and I'm currently in the process of probably 2 huge developments, and they're all network shows, and I can't release information yet, but I play, a huge lead in a series that's about to come out. And also with all the films that Romulus is doing, Romulus Entertainment, which is Brad's company, my husband's company, I'm always going to be taking some kind of substantial role. I mean, The Banker, the movie that I was in, just won an NAACP award. There are no small parts, I always say to people. So I'm going to continue doing the best I can do on the acting side. I'm always going to take talk radio to the next level by being able to combine the digital process, which is, quite frankly, the most important process of our culture, and being able to convert that digital radio, which now radio is not just I'm driving in my car. Radio is accessible on your phone. The iHeart app, we have 2 million plus users. It's not just talk radio. It's taking it to the next level with vodcasts, which are otherwise known, as TV podcasts, and shows like yours that are trending with thousands of subscribers and hundreds and thousands of viewers on YouTube, because people are now accessing their information in a much different kind of way. I mean, out of 7.8 billion people in the world, 51% of the population use social networks regardless of their age or internet access. I mean, that's a crazy statistic. And out of that 4.5 billion internet users, you have close to 84% who are active users. That's more than half of the world that now uses social media. And so when I take the show from radio to social media, and I'm catering to 0.6 billion people around the world, because I have access to them, because we all do, and they use the internet. We have new users every single month. I mean, look, there's been 360 million new users that have come online within the last 12 months. And you have 5.2 billion unique mobile users. So now I know where my demographic is. Now I know who's listening to me. And when I really kind of break it down in rough numbers, I realized very quickly that the internet was my best friend, and my social media platforms mattered now more than ever.
Well, especially with COVID and the digital transformation and the current uptick in Delta, Lambda, Iota. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's going through the whole Greek alphabet. I feel like
Gary,
again,
Don't get me started. Don't get me started with these deltas and betas and gammas. I had the exact same analogy less than 20. It was about 25, 26 minutes ago on another show that I was coming out of. And I said, I have to wonder that this is just big farm going cha-ching, cha-ching, another variant, another booster. Here you go. You got to get in line again. We need, more of your insurance cards to swipe. And at some point, like, enough's enough. Like, let's just move on.
No, we got to move on. Xen, I got a question for you. How in the world do you memorize lines? Because it's incredible when you watch a movie, and I had done some plays when I was in high school, but to memorize lines, how do you do that?
So here's the funny part. Your brain is a muscle, and I memorize as a living. Like, I go on shows to be able to, talk about statistics and changes in the market, because I've been trained as an actor, and not just trained, I took a class or two, like heavily theater trained. Gary, think of this. You go on Broadway, right? You sit down, and all of a sudden the curtain goes up, the lights go down, and these actors perform nonstop for 90 minutes straight without looking at a single script, a text, a cue card, or anything. That's because they've memorized in their mind, and their brain is a muscle. We memorize lines. My agent sends me 5-6 auditions a week. Of those audition tapes, it's pages and pages and pages of memorization, and where you can't actually just, memorize it and spit it back out. You have to believe it. You have to act it. The lines have to be part of who you are. So for me, it's such a fitting category to be able to work in talk radio, or in essentially commenting on a lot of things that are important to the world, that I research myself for my viewers and my listeners. And so I remember this information because it's information that pertains to really framing the show in a way where the people that are listening to me are statistically not the same people that are watching me. But the one thing that they do have in common is that they're all selfish with their time. They are not going to just follow me or listen or watch me if they're not getting something in return. And that something in return is high valuable information. That high valuable information needs to be memorized. Statistics of such, referring them back to certain references, jerking their memory about certain things that happened in pop culture. So these are the types of things that I practice on a daily level, right? My mind and my phone is one. Like, I'm constantly reading. I don't use the phone to go on social media and buy, the next stiletto. I use my phone because I'm constantly reading. And when you have a show that covers everything, you constantly need to be, feeding that the brain. You constantly have to be looking at headliners across the board, whether we're talking about digital process, we're talking about film, fashion, pop culture, politics. When I was quoted in Forbes, I said, change is the result of insurmountable market pressure. Social media allows big companies to act small again. And it's about sociology and psychology more than technology. And you can't tiptoe into social media. You have to just jump into the pool. People have a natural fear of it, but the scary part is actually not being there. Your customer is already there. And that's the quote I had given to Forbes. And I said, look, right now, a lot of people have resisted it because, I don't want to be caught saying something wrong, or I don't want to be misquoted, and I'm shying away from it. But the truth of the matter is, you have no choice. You have to find a way to make this work for yourself. You have to get online. According to a Pew study, 73% of US online adults now use social networking sites. And that doesn't mean that my in-laws in Del Rey, who are, baby boomers, they're still using it. I mean, we are using it. We Are Social says roughly 1/3 of the world's population is now online. Business Insider revealed that 68% of Instagram users are women. So
yeah, but get this, okay? We have a company that's created a social media influencer called Maya. The company's out of Singapore, Soman.ai. So she is not real, but she looks real. She's an influencer in Asia. Seriously, she's a composite of millions of faces. And so we've actually done that. That's created as working with some of the top brands now. So here's, I agree with what you're saying, but there's going to be a line of demarcation is when the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning, which is doing now, starts creating the content for us and starts creating these personas online that aren't really who we are. They're something new.
Very interesting. That's very interesting. That's a perspective I've actually not even thought about or considered, because I'm of the mindset of, giving people that benefit of the doubt that everyone is kind of real. But like you said, and where AI is going, we have to be really careful because we're being tracked, and we know we're being tracked. You might actually be part of the movement of tracking people because that's your business. But inherently, when you know that you're giving and you click, yes, I allow you to track me and I allow all this to happen, we're giving up this power.
Yeah, but we do it, Xen. Come on, everybody.
Willingly.
How many times do you go in? Here's the deal. You use Google, right? You're using Google, and at the same time, you're concerned about security and privacy. Use Facebook and LinkedIn. You're concerned about security and privacy. You opt into the stuff because we're too lazy not to do it. And at the same time, we're in a state of infobesity because we got so much data coming at us. We cannot figure it out. How many times every week, right? And we've talked about this before, has a situation occurred where somebody said, I sent you a message. Where did you send it? I sent it to your Gmail account. When did you send it? I sent it a week and a half ago. I didn't see it. Can you resend it again?
Yeah.
Because we are inundated with data. There are going to be two classes of society, people that know and the people that don't know. And that's happening very, very quickly. There's 49 zettabytes of data on the planet today. That would take CDs or DVDs 35 times back and forth between the Earth and the Moon, growing at 68% per year. We need to do something about it. And the reason artificial intelligence, unsupervised AI, is really important for us, it's going to be like our yaya, right? We're going to have these, in my opinion, and I write a lot about emotion and compassion, these compassionate AI tools are going to help guide us through our life, help guide us to make sense of the data that's there. And at some point, singularity will take place where there'll be a blur between what this AI is and these technologies and ourselves. We're going to be integrated, and it's going to happen sooner than later. There's so much out there that we don't know. 6 billion Earth-like planets in the Milky Way galaxy, 200 trillion galaxies estimated in the universe today. Think about how much is out there that we don't know about. It's unbelievable. And so, it's the world. People say, well, why are you into AI? It's because that's the way of the future. If we, as a civilization, we're going to die unless we start to do something better. You're right. There are 8 billion people on the planet today, but they're going to be 13 billion by the end of this century. By 2050, we're going to have to double the food supply in order to feed the people on the planet. And we can't get more livestock because they're killing us because of pollution. 26% of the pollution today is because of them. We've got to have a different way. We've got to use the technology we have in front of us to make our lives better, or we're going to destroy ourselves in another, 2 or 300 centuries, right?
You're 100% right. And then you have
100 years, not centuries, 2 or 3 centuries. So
yeah, absolutely. Like, I get the gist of it. Like, the most important thing is to be able to adapt with these times. You have the world now, everyone is talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and all these new terms and NFTs, and everyone's confused. And again, people are inundated with so much information. They don't know where to look. They don't know who to trust, and I'm seeing it unfold in real time. And the most important thing I'm hoping for is that people are able to research the accurate data themselves and not be swayed by what, mainstream media is saying, because you and I both know that media is very propagandistic, so to speak, in the sense that what we are seeing right now with the censorship and it's communism on the rise, and everyone seems to be okay with it. People seem to be okay with staying home versus going back to work and collecting this extra unemployment instead of being able to, get back and contribute positively to an economy that needs so much stimulation right now. And yet there's wage shortages.
And nothing good's going to happen, Xen.
Nothing.
Nothing good's going to happen because we're going to have hyperinflation, nothing good if we keep not, we built our society based on these immigrants that have come over here, worked hard, done a whole lot. We weren't given a whole lot. They had to work. If they wanted a nickel, they had to work for it. And the situation is, and I know that, my immigrant relatives came over here with nothing in their pocket and they had to do it. And we can all do it. We just got to look ourselves in the mirror and say, listen, it isn't easy, and that's for sure. But we can do it if we want to do it.
Absolutely.
Focus on getting it done.
Focus on getting it done. When I was on this other show earlier and it was a panel of women, we were talking about, the new age and what the struggles are and what moms are really trying to research and understand better for themselves. And, I said to them, look, if you're struggling to wrap your head around cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, it's about to get worse. NFTs, they're like, what? Non-fungible tokens? Is that what that means? One of my girlfriends says. And she goes, that does nothing other than expect me to think of mushrooms, she said. she goes, I said, listen, NFTs are widely misunderstood, and they're not understood at all, and for good reason. I mean, they're new, they're unfamiliar, and they're barely.
I gotta remember that. That's great.
But you know what? We have celebrities like Mark Cuban making headlines as NFT investors, and the general public is now starting to catch up. So when it comes to, I told her, I said, look, when it comes to goods and services, fungible, is a synonym for interchangeable. And she was, she's a very like soccer mom. She's like, oh, okay. Like she goes like, I said to her, look, it's a very simple thing. Commodities like gold and oil are fungible, right? As are currency, stock market shares and bonds. These are all fungible things. And if two people each have a $40 bill or a barrel of oil, a share of Amazon stock or whatever, an ounce of gold, and they trade, neither party gains or loses anything. And if the same two people trade cars, diamonds, or art, on the other hand, it will never be an even transaction. And that's because each individual, diamond, car, and art piece is unique and has its own individual value based on, the variables that we deem are important, like quality and condition. So in short, I said to her, and she was like looking at me, okay, this is starting to make sense, because I literally was able to parlay the definition into luxury goods, caught her attention right there. She said, I said, fungible items can be directly exchanged without anything being gained or lost. Non-fungible items cannot. And then it all sunk in, and I had every mother captivated. They were like, now we get it. This is all starting to, sink in or make sense. But it's, in my perspective, when I'm doing a show or when I'm doing a panel or when I'm just, talking with a friend like you and having fun on a show that's not even structured, just like we're kind of going through the motions of where we are at in a society, which is exactly why people watch you, Gary, and why you're so popular, because you're kind of like, just laid back. Let's talk about, where we're at and how we can make things, better. How can we can evolve as a society? I mean, you're a genius in and of yourself. You are published. You've written how many? 140 articles, 150, maybe more. And the artificial intelligence really is one area that, for me, I'm not that well versed on. So, I always follow you so you're like my cheat sheet. I said that to you on the other show. I was like, I follow Gary just so I know what's going on.
Yeah, we follow each other. Zen, you're amazing in terms of the knowledge. And the one thing that's happening today, I'm working a lot in Africa. I'm working all over the world, is this digital transformation that we've been thrust into because of the current state of COVID has really leveled the playing fields in a lot of ways. Remember, intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. And, NFTs and being able to share in opportunities it's changing things a lot. And let's hope, whenever we go through a new technology, there are some nefarious folks that come out, but it does get filtered out of the system over time. And there's great opportunity now to be able to change the world, a great opportunity to be able to do investments in things that we've never thought about before and really level the playing field. I mean, you look at currencies out there, I mean, these currencies that don't have anything behind them. We're going to have to, this whole entire financial structure is going to change, whether you like it or not. It's going to happen. So it's exciting times. We're coming up to the top of the hour. I really enjoy the conversation with you, and we're going to do this again. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But in closing thoughts, where do you think we're going to be in a year from now? And I'm not talking about COVID, in terms of cryptocurrencies, in terms of technology, in terms of, life in general. Where do you think we're going to be? How far ahead are we going to be than we are where we are today?
In about a year, I feel like I personally don't feel like we should be as far along as we should be on the crypto side, but I do feel like people are starting to embrace it, especially, I would like to see these changes really kind of be vertically integrated. I mean, the digital process changes, so to speak, how we respond to one another, how we're purchasing things, what we're investing in, how we're empowering ourselves. If we're investing in cryptocurrency, and if we are going to embrace that, then let's just do it from a knowledge is power sort of perspective, right? So we don't fall into your average black holes of, firstborn investors, so to speak. But I think, women in crypto is for sure an interesting topic, because for some reason, most people think women have just arrived in the cryptoverse, but it just isn't the case. And one of the inspiring women in crypto is Caitlin Long. She got introduced to Bitcoin and started as a Bitcoin evangelist, so to speak. And she called herself from 2012, 3 years after its creation, she called herself this Bitcoin evangelist. She then fought to have it recognized as real assets. And now Wyoming, where she's from, has a total of 13 blockchain enabling laws. And Wyoming has become an example in the US. And Long has now raised more than $5 million to create a crypto bank. So, and that was 2012. So now we're 2000. Like, this took a decade.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's great
to even move along, right? So
mm-hmm.
In a year, unfortunately, and I'm not being pessimistic, I would love to see this accelerate, go from 0 to 60 overnight. And I do think, in terms of the trading and the crypto world, I think this market is, now's the time to kind of really kind of start to educate yourself if you are going to plunge into this crypto world, right? But I do think that we're going to have a really hard time converting a lot of the non-believers. And again, it's going to tie back to AI and safety, and all of this is going to be at the hands of experts like yourselves, who can go out there and then make the public feel comfortable about these investments from the safe perspective. So I think we need a bit more than a year, but I'm going to try to see the glass half full and say that we're going to be halfway there in about a year. And that is my prediction.
Okay. I like that. So you contingently said, see the glass half full. I like that. I've never heard that.
So I still said that.
Hey, Xen, so I really appreciate you coming on the show today, and we're going to be doing more of these shows, but what's a good way for people to follow you? What's the best way to get in touch with you and to listen to your show?
Without a doubt, you know what? Everybody should follow me on social media at Xen Sams with an X, right? So Xen Sams. You can also Google a moment of Zen with an X on any kind of Google search, and Google it alongside the word iHeart or WOR, and the show will populate, and you could follow me. I'm live every Saturday night on 710 WR, the Voice of New York. We go live 9 to 10 p.m. If you have the iHeart app and you download it, you can hear me anywhere worldwide, as people will be able to hear you. You're actually airing this Saturday on our show, and you are you are one of those figures in the crypto world and AI world, and we keep repurposing your segment because it's gotten so many views. So you're airing again on the YouTube channel.
That's great.
They're gonna re-premiere the show for you, just for you, Gary.
Wow, well, thank you. I feel honored. Thank you.
Well, but listen, it's a big shout out to women as well. And this is just a statistic that I want most women to think about. Whoever's listening out there, whoever wants to get involved, just in the first quarter of 2020, Coin Corner, which is a crypto exchange, for those of you that don't know, it revealed that the share of women was 14 0.5%, which represents a 47% increase, right? And also, according to analysts, the number of women in crypto in the particular period of time grew 43%, which is a proper gender equity draft that can be seen right there. And this is what we're talking about just in the last 12 months. So come on, women, get up there, get informed, follow us. We're here to share the wealth and the knowledge.
You're amazing, Xen. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to be on the show today. Look forward to our continuing shows. And to my audience out there, thank you for tuning in. My name's Gary Fowler, and I'm the host of the Founders Report. Stay tuned. We'll be back, and stay happy, stay healthy, and stay safe. Thank you very much. Thanks, Xen.